Good morning, everybody. This is Jim Feist, and I'm joined again by Joe Mack. Joe, how's everything in New York today?
Everything's going great. We're enjoying a beautiful summer day and taking one more day off of New York baseball. We've got Mets Yankees starting Friday night, but it's a nice little break for everything, and I've been spending a lot of time reading football, so we're getting closer towards that, as you know.
Well, we are. We're getting to the preseason, which is, for a lot of people, not handicappable, but I think we can talk about how you handicap preseason. It's mostly information, who's going to play, how long they're going to play, what quarterback's going to be in there with the first string offensive line, et cetera, et cetera. That kind of stuff comes up. I mean, it is preseason. You're not going to see the best teams against the worst teams playing full out. It doesn't happen that way. But it's beatable, but it takes a little bit different kind of work than, everybody knows that Pittsburgh's better than Tampa Bay at this point. Or Pittsburgh's better than the Jets, or New England's better than the Jets. And everybody knows that, but in the preseason, that's not the case. Because you may not have the real good teams with their players on the field. So we've both been doing work on a division-by-division basis. I've done every division but one. But I think we should talk about the one that you talked about earlier, which is the NFC North?
That's right.
Okay. NFC North. We all know who's in the NFC North. Aaron Rodgers. A lot of people say he's the best quarterback in football. I could agree with that. I don't think he has, in my opinion, I don't think he has the best head coach in football. I think he's marginal. I don't think they've given him the support that he's needed on a continuous basis. The offensive line is, maybe it's a B or C+. I don't think it's an A. There's different factors there, but Aaron has been incredible, and they are, of course, favored to win that division. And I say, of course, because there's a lot of people that would argue that it should be the Vikings. The Vikings are better defensively. They had a better year last year. Of course, they were healthier than Green Bay was. They had, they went a long way in the playoffs, and Case Keenum was remarkably consistent. He's not a superstar like an Aaron Rodgers or Brady or Breeze, but he was consistent. He followed the rules. He did what he was told to do, and he did it sufficiently enough to keep them out of trouble and to win some games. Based on that,
right,
and the fact that they traded for a higher-rated quarterback that has really never won anything in the pros, but he is higher rated, his skill level is higher than Keenum's in several areas. The question is he consistent enough, and can he play within the scheme that is there in Minnesota? So there could be arguments that the Vikings should be favored, and other people will argue the Packers should be favored. Of course, then you have Detroit. Matt Stafford is a very capable quarterback, but it's a team that's not been able to run the ball since Barry Sanders left, which is a long time ago. And so, it's I kind of laid it out there, just overview, but I know you've done some deep work and deep dive into this, Joe. How do you feel?
Well, you know what? You started out with the first guy that you have to think about in this division, and that's Aaron Rodgers. I would say, to me, Vikings-Packers is about a coin flip right now. Last year, obviously, the Vikings won this division easily, 13-3 record for the year, while Green Bay actually had a losing record at 7-9. But again, Rodgers only played 7 games last year, threw 16 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. And he really is the focal point in other ways also right now in this off season, Jim. He is not a happy guy. I mean, it's come out. It's been widely speculated that he already has problems with the first-year general manager. As we know, right after the season ended last year, the Packers got rid of their offensive coordinator, Edgar Bennett, and their quarterback coach, Alex Van Pelt. But I'll say this, and I'm not the first one to say it. Mike McCarthy, the head coach who's now going into his 13th year, he calls any and all the shots on offense, play calling, whatnot. I don't care if, they go in and out with saying, okay, somebody's going to play call this week, or then he takes the reins back. Listen, he's an offensive mind. He's going to be the last word. And, they've been in the playoffs a bunch of years before last year. I think it was an 8-year run before last year. But Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy, they have to get their relationship firmed up, too, because Rodgers not happy that, especially that Alex Van Pelt, his quarterback coach, he's kind of a guru, was exiled, along with really probably Rodgers' best friend on the team, the wide receiver Jordy Nelson. But let's face it, it's never been the same since that devastating knee injury in the preseason a few years back in Pittsburgh. But that being said, Rodgers is the key guy in this whole division. And, you've got to remember this year, they were 4-1 out of the gate. He got hurt. The team fell apart. Down the stretch, they tried to play him one more time. Didn't work. Lost their last 3 games. So the Packers have some question marks here. But right now, they've got to get all hands on deck and have guys on the same page. I mean, the new offensive coordinator is Joe Philbin, the old Dolphin coach, not exactly Mr. Excitement. But I guess McCarthy feels he works pretty good hand in hand with them. So anyway, we'll see how that all goes. But right now, the camps are all opening up for the next week to 10 days. Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy and management, they all got to sit down at a table some night over a glass of wine or whatever and discuss what's what. Because right now, this is I don't want to call them dysfunctional, but they're a little, they're a little really like not in sync right now. And if that's the case when they go into the season, then the Vikings would probably beat them out. Now, we talked about Kirk Cousins. It's funny. The Redskins never seem to want to completely have that commitment to him. It was almost like they get to the altar and they never wanted to marry the guy. And then here's the Vikings who chomping at the bit to get Case Keenum, who got him to the NFC Championship game, get him out to bring Cousins in. You're right, Jim. Cousins has never won anything. He's had his moments. He's also lost some disastrous games where the Redskins, had something to play for. He lost his game to the Giants a couple of years ago. He's got to show you something. I mean, this team last year, you look at it and you think, okay, Case Keenum, the journeyman type of quarterback. They actually finished 10th in the league in passing. They were better than most people thought. They had some big play guys, as we saw in that playoff game with Stephon Diggs. I mean, that was a freak play, but still, the touchdown against the Saints. This team threw the ball and showed a little more imagination last year. Now they got Cousins coming in, and I think the feeling is, okay, he's going to lead us to the next step. He's going to lead us beyond, past the NFC Championship game in the Super Bowl. I wouldn't be so quick to feel that way, and he's going to have to get used to a new offensive coordinator, the old Eagles quarterback coach, John DeFilippo. So again, we're going to see how that marriage works with Cousins, DeFilippo, and a Viking team that probably has a little more ammunition than people give it credit for. Let's see if it's good enough to win the division. And while we're talking quarterback, just to touch on these other 2 teams, the Lions, you said it was Matt Stafford, but how about this fact? I like Matt Stafford, gunslinger, swashbuckler, whatever you want to call him. You know that he has not had a single playoff win in his career. 10 years in the NFL, has not won a playoff game. Not all that's his fault. You said it, Jim. I mean, they've never found a running game after Barry Sanders, and I mean, that's many, many moons ago. And you're looking at a team that last year finished second to last in the league in rushing. They fired the head coach, Jim Caldwell. They brought in Patriots defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia. That's its own little story. And you wonder if this ground game is ever going to find itself or be somewhat of a compliment to Stafford. If not, I mean, if you're going to tell me right now they're going to finish in the bottom 5 or 6 in team rushing, I'm going to tell you that if they get the playoffs, they're not going to win again. So Matt Stafford may be a guy that someday looks like he's all stacked, but they never win a playoff game. And to me, the Lions they're locked in at the third. spot. I know they finished second last year, and they beat out Green Bay. To me, they're a third-place team, an 8-8 type of team, and we're going to see what Matt Patricia's all about. And finally, lastly, the Bears, and just to discuss their quarterback, Trubisky, he's going to be going with the new head coach, Matt Nagy, who comes over from the Chiefs. And we're going to see what Trubisky's all about. Last year, he only had a 77.5 quarterback rating. They traded up to get us in the second round to get a wide receiver from Memphis, a kid who I like, Anthony Miller. I think if he can have a nice chemistry with Trubisky, the Bears should be more athletic and they should score more. I will say this for them. Last year, they were 5-11 straight up, Jim, but they were one of the better spread teams in the division. They finished 8-6-2 against the numbers. So Trubisky, we're watching, see what kind of baby steps he takes. You got Detroit, you got Stafford, you need some help. Otherwise, that non-playoff winning thing is going to continue. You've got the Vikings with Cousins. Are they overrating him from the start? I think they are. And you've got Rodgers with Green Bay. So, again, it's a mouthful and it's a lot going on, but you got a lot of quarterbacks under the microscope here and a lot of changes. Almost every team that we talked about, new offensive or defensive coordinators or both, new head coaches in Detroit with Patricia, in Chicago with Nagy replacing John Fox. So it's a real division of change. When it shakes out, to me, Green Bay, Minnesota are the best. To me, they're probably 10-win type team. Maybe it'll depend on who can, if either team can sweep the season series, that might decide it. But in a nutshell, that's what I'm looking at in the year ahead for the NFC North.
I certainly can't argue with any of that, Joe. Great points. It is those top two teams, given barring injuries, of course. If Aaron Rodgers goes down again, of course, then then the Vikings will slip in. If something happens with Cousins, then you're possibly. I mean, the Vikings got rid of 3 quarterbacks, and that was quite unusual. I mean, usually you keep 1 for a backup, but they got rid of 3, and they're all vying to continue playing in the NFL. So it's not like they're retired. So it's interesting. The Vikings went a long way last year with basically a game manager in Keenum. I mean, he's good enough to beat you, but if he makes a lot of mistakes, then you may not be overcome. But he avoided a lot of mistakes. Now, he had some mistakes obviously in the playoffs, and then that one miracle win over the Saints, which really they should not have won. But it's different when you get in the playoffs versus regular season, of course. And he was going up against a team that was, well coached and Drew Brees, the quarterback, etc. But they got lucky there. But I like it exactly the way you laid it out. I'm a Matt Stafford fan, but I don't think Matt's ever gotten really good support. I kind of like an Andrew Luck at Indianapolis, where he's actually better than the team he's on. And if given the right team, a better scenario, you're kind of looking at championship material for Luck and Stafford. But when you got bad organizations, bad ownership, people that don't develop an offensive line or give you a running back to hold off the pass rush and give you some yardage on the ground, you're not going to go very far. These kind of teams are managed poorly, and you end up with those kind of results. And a lot of people blame the quarterback. It's really not the quarterback's fault.
No, I'm with you on that. You know what? I think it's a good comparison. I never really thought of it that way with Stafford and Luck. When you think about it, it's almost like they deserve better. The Colts deserve to give, or should have given, Luck better help along the offensive line and a little bit at wide receiver. And let's face it, the ground game for the Lions has been abysmal for years. And the defense, really, I mean, I think people have seen it enough that if they sample the Lions watching them just once a year on Thanksgiving, I mean, they give up tons of points, tons of yards. Now, is that going to change under Patricia? We'll see. Will maybe Stafford be a real beneficiary of a better defense, a better field position and whatnot? We'll see. And let's face it, Stafford had, whether you want to call it the misfortune or bad luck, I mean, he had a top-flight Hall of Fame receiver retire I don't want to say Calvin Johnson retired at the peak of his career, but he certainly had what seems to be a lot of football life ahead of him and quit. So that really hurt them because when they had a little more depth at receiver, they had Johnson and Golden Tate together on the same field. They were that much tougher to defend, obviously, and now when you take away a number one receiver, well, the depth, everything shows. So that's none of Bassett's fault. I like the guy. I really like to see the Lions someday, go far and let this guy who's now had this long career show some fruits of all his labor. But if I had a gun to my head right now, Jim, I don't think the Lions make the playoffs this year. And, I just think it's, like I said, they're a poorly managed team from the head down. So are the Bears, really. And so we'll see what happens. I mean, the Bear fans have been pretty patient with some of the misery they've gone through the last couple of years. And actually, they'll get their first peek at things. Again, you touched on the preseason and what it really means, but the Hall of Fame game is right around the corner. It's the Baltimore Ravens and Chicago Bears. So it'll be fun. I'm sure Trubisky won't play much, as we know how they handle it in the early preseason games, especially. But anyway, we'll get a look at it. We'll get a sense of what the Bears, maybe in the first quarter of that Hall of Fame game, maybe we'll take a little peek into what the Bears may be showing this year. As I said, maybe Trubisky to this kid Anthony Miller will be a nice pass-catch combo, and we'll see if the Bears maybe can surprise after winning just 5 games last year.
Yeah, this is great, breaking into this and talking about it, and through the weekend I expect some more of the trades to be taking place. Machado's already gone from Baltimore to the Dodgers. Hand came out of San Diego and moved up to Cleveland, and these teams are trying to fill holes, and there's other teams that are going to go into a fire sale mode to try to pick up draft choices and money and get rid of contracts. And we had a big one in the NBA. We haven't talked about this previously, but the move by Kawhi Leonard to Toronto and DeRozan coming down to the Spurs. I don't think either player was happy with that trade, but it's funny how that happened. It's kind of like, you don't want to play for us, we're going to send you to a different country. So it's interesting to see what's going on in sports, and in the NBA, of course, they're building these super teams, but sports is just it's an amazing thing. I got the British Open's on this other TV behind me, and we got the All-Star game was amazing. It was 2-2 in the 8th inning, and all of a sudden they score 14 runs in total, and the over-bettors loved it, and the under-bettors were sad. But it just shows you that, and you talked about it earlier, the strikeouts or home runs. It's either one or the other. But baseball's different. Sports changes. It's exciting. We keep on top of it. We both love it. And I hope the people out there that tune in and listen to this enjoy it, and keep sending your cards and letters, and let us know. Joe is... he's at VegasSportsMasters.com, and I'm on JimFeist.com, and our picks are ready there each and every day, and keep coming back for more. We posted a podcast earlier. We'll have 2 tomorrow, and we'll come back again Monday. And next week, Joe, maybe we can get together and talk about, after some of these trades are finalized, it's going to be very interesting to see what the second half of the baseball season looks like after some of the moves that are taking place, because there's going to be some big moves.
I agree, and we were talking before the show started here, just off the air, about what might lie ahead here with these trades. Some of them may not be, quote, exciting, but I think relief pitching is going to be the name of the game. I think you're going to see a handful of these contending teams either making a move for a reliever or at least attempting to. You can sit here and speculate about which guys are going, but right here in my own backyard, the Mets are definitely going to send Jeurys Familia packing. So will he be a piece, say, for the Seattle Mariners? Will he be another piece for the Houston Astros bullpen? We're going to see, but it's very predictable what's going to happen, Jim. The bottom feeder teams, their relief pitchers are going to be the apple of the eye to these contenders. The kid Iglesias, who throws 100 miles an hour for the Reds, he's probably going to be fence packing. As I said, Familia for the Mets. Maybe the Royals send a guy going. So we'll see what goes on. I don't know if we're going to get a bigger name offensively than Machado. Packing is big, but it's possible. I mean, it's possible. And I think there's a couple of teams that if they're looking for one back in the middle lineup, even the contending teams we talk about, I think Miami's first baseman Justin Bour is going to be a really hot commodity. I don't know if Derek Jeter and company wants to part with this lefty slugger, but I could see him being a nice extra piece for whoever, the Mariners or maybe even plug him in with the Astros. But a guy like that, again, it's not totally exciting name. Nothing offensively is going to be as exciting probably as the Machado trade. But again, I think relief pitching is going to be a big deal. You might get a couple of starters. I don't anticipate those Mets starters, DeGrom or Syndergaard, getting traded. They might. I don't think they will. I don't think you're going to see any other names such as Chris Archer for Tampa Bay. I just, when these teams have close control over these players with the contracts, they don't like to trade them if they don't have to. So unless they have their backs to the wall, these teams hold on to pitching. But relief pitching might be the way to go. I'll tell you one other thing. You were talking about all the games ahead and how next week is going to be busy with trades and stuff. We just want people also to know this is a quickie plug. The folks can call 1-800-323-4453 to get all of Jim Hurley's network picks. 1-800-323-4453. And we went into the break pretty hot in baseball, so we hope to come out of it pretty hot as well and grind out a nice profit in the second half.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. Great podcast today. Love the information. We'll talk again next week. And everybody out there, you can go to VegasSportsMasters.com for Joe's stuff, Jim Hurley's stuff, and you can go to JimFleiss.com for all of my material as well. And thank you, Joe, and have a great weekend.
All right. Thanks for having me, Jim. Always appreciate it.
Okay, buddy.